trying to do the same thing. They don't pick up the same amount of advantage there.
So you'd rather be mulliganing to Ether Gust instead of having your Hoser Veil of Summer banned in the format.
Yeah.
All right, I buy it.
That's what I'm saying.
That makes sense to me. That's. Well, it looks like our mulligans are going to be on Lax's side of things, the Reclamation player, making sure that he can keep up with the green onslaught. And in fact, a mulligan to 5. Some options there. Lax is choosing to hang on to a Bone Crusher Giant, a Reclamation, and 3 lands, and Kavanagh is on the play with the Pelt Collector. Lax will open up with Catch Your Triumph, so next turn Stomp is online. But it looks like Kavanagh not having any difficulty curving out. 2/2 Stonecoil Serpent grows the Pelt Collector. Here's a hit on Lax for 2.
Yeah, we're seeing both these players have this curve, right? Where it's going to be the Stomp on 2, into the Bone Crusher Giant on 3, into the Wilderness Reclamation on 4 out of Harry Lax's side.
And Lax leaving up that Stomp. I suppose that's a luxury of the open deck list. You can play around a Gem Razor instead of worrying about playing into a Ranger's Guile.
Yep.
Stonecoil Serpent on 3 is going to show up. This is where we see Stomp on Pelt Collector. Try to slow things down. And Bone Crusher Giant against 2/2 and 3/3 coming down on this turn. Pretty reasonable as well.
Yes. Nicely sized body.
But Kavanagh is going to keep making land drops. See land number 4, and actually some really nice options. Garruk Unleashed and Primal Might. Kavanagh's thinking about Primal Might, and yeah, just getting the block out of the way makes plenty of sense.
Yeah, this is going to deal a pile of damage.
+3/+3. Fights a creature you don't control. Unfortunately, taking a shock off the Bone Crusher Giant. Don't think that's what this game is going to be about, though, as 8 points will knock Ari Lax to 8. And lands and Reclamation. Blast Zone. Blast Zone's no good against Stonecoil Serpent. That's no help. These are 0 mana creatures on the table. And both Primal Might and the Garruk actually just lethal this turn if Kavanagh goes for them. Gem Razor lethal too. Just 3 lethal spells in hand.
Yeah, I was going to say this is just an embarrassment of riches here, right? Like pick which way we're going.
Do you have a preference?
Let's get these new cards on the board. So I like the Garruk here.
Garruk is unleashed and Ari Lax is down. Carolyn Kavanagh up game number 1 there as players go to sideboard.
Man, that was quick.
Oh yeah, and that's just how the green deck draws it up. Wins the die roll. Has a nice curve, multiple ways to remove that Bone Crusher Giant as a blocker and push extra damage while doing it. Looked really clean and easy from Kavanagh's side of things.
Yeah, and if you're Ari Lax, you're saying, all right, I'm mulliganed twice, but I still have the Bone Crusher Giant, which kind of makes up for it because it's 2 cards in 1. I'm able to kill his 1-drop on 2. I'm able to play a 4/3 on 3. I've got my best card on turn 4, and I'm dead.
You see some very involved sideboarding on Lax's side of things. Take a look over there. All 4 Wilderness Reclamations being boarded out just in favor of creatures with power and toughness. Nightpack Ambusher, Elder Gargaroth seems to be the plan with some red removal spells.
All right, this is pretty interesting.
Still leaving 2 expansions in. Huh, that is really wild. I mean, the deck's called Teamer Reclamation. How well does Ari's deck function without any Reclamations in the deck?
So I would have thought that this line, you know, I wonder if on the play, if he's not supposed to be still a Reclamation deck, and maybe on the draw, he's supposed to transition into this other build.
Sure, you think on the play he'll just have more time, he can actually just try to leverage the more powerful cards, whereas on the draw, he just needs to be playing on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
See if he's able to pull it off. Kavanagh, given the sideboarding a think. You see the Great Hengens have moved to the sideboard. That's how we've kind of seen this matchup approached. Little waffling on some of those cards, like Ram Through, that could remove blockers. You do see Ranger's Guile coming in off the sideboard, so it does exist in the 75.
Sure, if you don't want the Great Henge against kind of the de facto best deck in the format right now, it makes me wonder why it's in your main deck or your sideboard to begin with.
I mean, if you're playing the mono green matchup, it seems effective there. Would you agree?
Sure.
Like just the mirror match. The creatures broadly just kind of trade off of each other. And then you have that way to go over the top there.
Yeah, I still feel like a lot of those matchups are going to be very momentum based, where one person gets ahead, especially with a planeswalker or a very large creature, and you don't want this kind of clunky Great Henge in your hand not doing anything until turn 5 or 6.
That's also super fair. I mean, yeah, Primal Might can cut the opponent down if you're at parity too. So you're really not a Great Henge fan, I'm hearing.
Oh, it's a super powerful card. I can see pairing it with like the Rotting Regisaur, where there's a way to get this card on the board for cheap.
Gotcha. You're looking for a really dedicated early Henge.
Well, I think with the way the format is, banking on that power in the mid to late game is not good against the most powerful decks in the format.
Sure. It does make sense, yeah. People get on the battlefield pretty quickly, a lot of mana acceleration in the format. Alright, so you see a Kavanagh with a Barkhide Troll and a Pelt Collector staring down 4 mana. Lax with the Nightback Ambusher and Brazen Borrower. Lax is really in to Nightback Ambusher this week. 3 copies of that hanging out.
Yeah, it's a really strong card.
Yeah, just main deck, and the sideboard plan really leans into it. Attack with both creatures. You do see a flash in of the Ambusher. And that's going to have the Troll for lunch. Pelt Collector will go to a 3/3 after knocking Lax to 16. Primal Might's really good against sorcery speed creatures. Here, it still will cut the Ambusher down, but the Ambusher just got a 2-for-1 is how that ends up playing out.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I'm on Ari's side of the board, I'm perfectly fine with this line where my opponent still only has 1 threat on the board.
Land number 5 is Blast Zone and Bone Crusher Giant picked up by Lax.
Yeah, great draw for him. On the other side of the board, Carolyn just really flooding out here.
Yeah, the green deck is really going to struggle with this many lands. They do play some mobilized districts to hedge a little bit, but you kind of need your opponent to have less life, and you want to have more power to really leverage that card. Pelt Collector hit by Petty Theft, which puts it back in stomp range.
Yeah, it's all working.
Pelt Collector into Troll. Now comes the stomp. Lack's gonna respect the Rangers Guiles more now that we're in the sideboard games, and they could exist.
Sure.
Fabled Passage is land number 6. That means that Lax has a pain-free way to deploy both creatures. Bone Crusher Giant shows up to check the Troll. There were a lot of lands in Kavanagh's hand, though. Questing Beast off the top is okay. That is to say, it's a card with text, which is a nice change of pace.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's a powerful card, and it looks like Carolyn's going to be kind of patient with the Questing Beast and offer trade with some of these other cards, which I like.
And Kavanagh's actually going to fire up the District instead of charging the Questing Beast and the Bone Crusher Giant. That looks pretty nice, as you see the District will trade for the Giant.
Yeah, I like this line a lot.
Some nice patience there. Lax is going to go use that Fabled Passage, flash in this Brazen Borrower. Do you have much experience playing with the card Brazen Borrower? Oh, Forest isn't going to do it, though. Blast Zone is just going to get charged instead.
Do I have experience playing with Brazen Borrow? A little bit. It's it shows up as a 1-of in some legacy decks and things like that. Mm-hmm. I'm a pretty big limited player, so I have had it in draft where it is super powerful.
Oh yeah. My question has to do a little bit with the texture of this matchup. Brazen Borrower has that blocking restriction. Is Disperse plus 3/1 Evasive Flyer good enough in this matchup?
I don't think so. I think people, they're kind of tricking themselves a little bit where they're like, oh, like I'll get to bounce the thing, which will buy me time, and then later I still have that 3/1 body. But if the 3/1 body never matters, probably there's something better we could have going on. But that's specifically for this matchup. In the deck in general, it's just such a nice, consistent catch-all that, that's why it's there.
Sure. Second Borrower off the top for Lax. Can gain a little bit of life against this Questing Beast. He's already at 9, though. So he gets to bounce the Beast. The token still connects. Lax will go to 8. The Scavenging Ooze is picked up by Kavanagh. See, Lovestruck Beast off on an adventure. A couple of options for Kavanagh. Plenty of mana with this castle.
Yeah,
Lax.
This is a pretty interesting game because Ari Lax just hasn't had any big payoff cards. And, he's had a lot of these little interactions along the way. But the draw of the Team of Reclamation deck is the powerful top end of it, right? And he's basically cut it out of the deck altogether.
Yeah, he's moved off the Reclamations, trimmed on Expansion Explosions. And on this board, you have a 4/4 Ooze, a 5/5 Beast with the token hanging out. Would Expansion for 3 be very meaningful even?
Well, I think still having the ability to refill your hand would be, quite effective. But maybe 2 is the right number where you can draw it and do it, but you don't end up with 2 or 3 or 4 copies.
Sure. Yeah, having the way to gas back up is nice, but Lax has to do something to come back from behind. The Bonecrusher Giant got to clean up the token. That's reasonable, but now the Questing Beast redeployed. Ram through is going to push that Beast over that Giant, and hey, 8 power there. That's going to do it. Carolyn Kavanagh, pretty quick win in the sideboard game, 2-0 over Ari Lax there, and